and welcome to another short tutorial on the weapons, equipment and uniforms of the British soldier during the Great War, 1914 to 1918. My name is Carl Mitchley and I'm a member of the 10th Essex Living History Group based in the UK. Today we're going to be looking at poison gas. Now, tear gas was first used by the French in August 1914 against the Germans. And the first recorded use by the Germans against the British of tear gas was in October 1914 at the Battle of Neuve-Chapelle. Tear gas is not particularly effective. It's an irritant more than a killer. It stings and irritates the moist parts of the body, such as the armpits, the backs of the knees, the groin. It stings your eyes, it makes you cough, sneeze and splutter, and makes it incredibly hard to breathe. However, like I say, it's more of an irritant rather than a killer. So, the Germans introduced poison gas on the 22nd of April at the Second Battle of Ypres. Now, this poison gas is chlorine gas. Chlorine is okay, a few drops in a swimming pool, but in a high concentration in a small space, it is an absolute killer. The Germans opened valves on 5,730 canisters of chlorine gas. A gas 2.5 times heavier than air, 170 tons of it hugged the ground, sunk into shell holes and trenches and drifted towards the French colonial troops holding the opposite line. Most of these were Algerians, and within 10 minutes 6,000 troops were dead, killed by the yellow-green smoke pouring towards them. A 4-mile gap in the line was opened up. The Canadians on the left flank were also affected, but held their line using scarves and handkerchiefs to cover their faces. More attacks followed over the next few days, so the Canadians used cloths dipped in ammonia, i.e. urine, to stem the effects of the gas. In the following days after these attacks, Lord Kitchener appealed to the women of England to produce homemade respirators to send to the troops. So now we're going to look at the various gas equipment of the British soldier during the Great War. A sock or handkerchief. Chlorine kills by causing throat spasms or by irritating the lungs to such an extent that they flood with fluid and the victim drowns. A sock or a handkerchief dipped in an alkaline solution and clamped over the mouth and nose could be used to neutralise the effects. Water could also be used to some effect. Chlorine clouds were a greeny yellow colour and smelt of bleach. Pad respirators. On the 23rd of April 1915, one day after the first attack, Lord Kitchener had appealed for the women of England to make respirators out of cotton wool wrapped in muslin or veiling material. Instructions were printed in newspapers and millions were made within days. The War Department was swamped by demand. The first ones were soaked in washing soda solution, and the later ones soaked with a washing soda and photographic hypo with a little glycerine. Unfortunately, they were overstuffed with cotton wool, causing them to become sodden. The men could not breathe properly and would take them off believing they were suffocating, resulting in them being gassed. By the 1st of May, the army announced that they were no longer required. The black veiling respirator. The black veiling respirator was developed by John Scott Haldane, and it was the first official pattern. It was used during the final stages of the Second Battle of Ypres, but its issue was no means universal, with many troops still using homemade or private purchase types. Made from a length of black veil 3 feet long and 1 foot wide, folded into a tube about 4 inches wide. Into this was placed a pad of cotton waste wadding, which was sewn into the middle of the tube. It was only effective for about 5 minutes and needed constant re-dipping in solution. Rubber goggles. Made to an existing pattern, they were often worn by drivers, motorcyclists and pilots of the Royal Flying Corps. This well-known picture shows men of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders wearing pad respirator goggles in June 1915. The hypo smoke helmet. The smoke helmet, commonly called the hypo, was officially introduced in June 1915. It was made from a single layer of shirt flannel with a simple window made from mica. Mica is quite fragile, so it was quickly replaced by a celluloid window. P-type tube helmets. In September 1915, the P-type tube helmet was introduced to protect from a variety of gases, including phosgene. Phosgene is odourless but smells of hay. Made from 2 layers of flannelette, a tube was added internally with a rubber one-way non-return valve externally fitted. You would need to breathe through the fabric, drawing air through the chemicals the mask was dipped in, and exhale using the internal metal tube. It came with a rubberised wallet to keep it moist, and its own carrying satchel. On the 19th of December 1915, phosgene mixed with chlorine was used for the first time in a German cloud attack at Ypres. Spicer goggles. Spicer goggles were designed to be worn during a tear gas attack when eye protection was required, not necessarily a gas helmet. Named after their designer, they were made from 2 layers of khaki cotton with 2 celluloid eyepieces and an internal wire bridge to be bent into shape to conform to the face. They were issued in a small envelope with instructions printed on the front. And lastly, the small box respirator. In the late summer of 1916, the small box respirator, or SBR as it was known, was introduced as a first line of defence against both chlorine and phosgene gas. It consisted of a face mask connected by a rubber hose to a tin plate filter containing a chemical absorbent. The face mask is light in weight and made from khaki cotton fabric coated with a thin layer of rubber. It has circular eyepieces set in metal rims, a wide nose clip and an internal mouthpiece. It also has a rubber valve for any saliva to escape the mask rather than travelling down the hose into the filter. The rubber hose is made of vulcanised stockinette fabric, which makes the hose strong while keeping flexibility. The canister contained cotton and wire gauze filters to retain any poisonous contaminants. It was issued with a tube of Glasso anti-dimming compound to stop the lenses fogging, a cloth to apply the anti-dimming compound, a gas diary for keeping a record of its use, and a small safety pin to shorten the adjustment strap over the top of the head. In July 1917, mustard gas was used for the first time. It killed by blistering the lungs and throat if inhaled in large quantities. It also produced terrible blisters on exposed skin. To combat this, more filters were added to the filter canister to counter the effects of mustard gas. Okay, so that was a short tutorial or short video on poison gas and the various gas equipment. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please like this video, and if you have any comments, please place them in the comments box below, and please subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.